January 30th here in southern Ontario, Canada. I'm disciplining myself to take at least 2 days off of politics. I need a break. So I thought I'd share some story time with you if you want a distraction yourself. So when I was 10 years old, I bought a horse. Saved them from the glue factory. I think it was $125 delivery included for the horse. The reason I had my own money was, well, the town kids got, $2, $3 a week in allowance. I got 7 or 8, but 5 of it went in the bank. I got to spend the other 2 or 3 on fishing lures or whatever. So I had the money. Anyways, I was saving the old horse from the glue factory. Now, he wasn't that old. He was middle-aged, advanced middle-aged. He was in rough shape when I got him. It was obvious he'd had some abuse at the hands of an adult male. He did not like men. Women and children, fine. He adored my mother. Now, to the untrained eye, he looked like a peculiar sort of horse. He was very big, very powerful, heavy build. He had some heavy horse in his lineage somewhere. He had a particularly sparse mane and forelock, high withers. That's their front shoulders, and a suede back, not like the disease suede. I'm not even sure what that's called, but he had a deeply suede back. He had no hair on his tail. He just had this little, like, rhinoceros stub waving around frenetically all the time like a methamphetamine-induced conductor in the, orchestra. To the trained eye, he showed some good lines, really, although he was far and away from a show horse. And he was very intelligent, extraordinarily intelligent. This is an introduction to the story, because the story's fairly long. Anyways, we have to go into herd hierarchy a little bit here. TV shows the stallion leading and protecting his harem. The protecting part's true, the leading isn't. Horse herds are led matriarchally by the smartest, most intelligent, I should say, female. Not the biggest or the strongest, the prettiest or the fastest. It can be passed down from mother to daughter, but not necessarily. Our herd of horses and ponies that boarded came and went, and they free-ranged around the 60-acre farm. So the lead mare was quite an old Shetland pony, lady or old lady. Her number 2 was a returning daughter of hers that had left the farm and returned, again another tiny Shetland. And Major, when he was introduced, slipped effortlessly into the number 3 position. So here's where we come to Major's peculiarity, which is an understatement, that leads to the entire story. He would not get his feet wet. We could never figure out what that was about. We had a creek that flowed through the farm. It flowed all year round. In the spring, I guess you could have called it a small stream. In the depths of summer, it would be a creek. But even at its fullest, any of the ponies could have leapt across it. Major, Dad laughed at me when I was teaching him to jump. He said, "You'll never teach that old horse. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, kid. What are you doing?" Well, Major took to jumping with a bit of effort, and he could jump 6 feet in the air. It's pretty commendable for a nag, on a C-grade ranch like ours. So, he could have effortlessly cleared the stream at any time, the creek. He wouldn't have to run at it. But as the horses would drift around the farm following the little Shetlands, they'd come to the stream, they'd drink, walk across the stream. One might jump across it, a couple, whatever. Most of them just walk through it. Major'd stand there and look balefully at the stream, the creek. As the herd drifted away, he doesn't want to abandon his little buddies. He's a prey animal. He wants to be with the herd. And finally, you'd see him, he'd screw up his courage and he'd leap straight up in the air and and inevitably he'd land in the water, come splashing out, and then he'd turn and stare hatefully at the stream for a little while. And needless to say, riding him, especially without a saddle, this whole stream thing was just, it was beyond ridiculous. I couldn't lead him across the stream. I couldn't ride him. I'd run it at him. Come on, it's a foot wide. You can jump this. How far do you jump leaping 6 feet in the air? But no, always the same ridiculous performance. And then as he came caught back up to the rest of the herd, up working his way through the hierarchy, the pecking order, you'd see him, he'd just a little dark cloud over his head, the whole stream thing, He'd look at, first one he's coming up on, like, you got anything to say? And he'd say, oh, no, Bigfoot, no, I didn't see a thing, You got, no, the grass is good on this side. And he'd work his way up through casting, challenging looks at the entire herd. They'd all be like, no, I didn't see anything, man. I was watching that red Chevy go down the highway there. yeah. He'd get up to the 2 Shetlands, and they'd just turn and look at him like, what is wrong with you, you simpleton? He'd kind of hang his head shamefully, and everybody'd go back to their grazing and drifting along. And inevitably, they'd come back to the stream to cross it, and the same ridiculous performance would happen. So, why? What went on with his equine brain with this water and foot business, we could never fathom. So it was a hot, sultry summer day, one of those dog days of summer. And the 3 girls, Lori, Rhonda, and Cindy, all had horses there and were there on the farm almost every day. They said, oh, we're going to take our horses down to the lake at the park. You want to come along with us? I said, oh, yeah. You'll see why I'm highly motivated to join them in this endeavor. A couple of chapters into the story. And so anyways, Major's standing there sleeping with the rest of the herd, right up by the house yard, by the driveway, that all these big old maples all lined up down the field. And that's where they'd have an afternoon nap in the heat of the summer. So I startled Major awake by, sticking the bit in his mouth and the bridle over his head. He was like, what? It's nap time. What are you doing? And I was like, come on, horse. I leap on his back. We're going to the park. He's like, you fool, it's as hot as Hades, and I was sleeping. I'm like, come on, the girls are ready to go. So I think that pretty well covers the introduction to the story. It gets more and more entertaining as it goes, trust me. If you should care to join me, I'm going to use it as a distraction to ignore politics, despite the fact Parliament's open for the first day today. So, join me should you care to.